Welcome to I Am Creation podcast.
The beautiful thing about that creation is when it started, it was a calling, and I had no idea what the end result would be. My triggers are actually my biggest lessons.
I would love to hear the story about the stream.
It's a 1 in 4 trillion chance of being born. And it's funny with relationships because we can have a million amazing moments and we have one moment that's challenging and then we're like, cut, I'm out. And you're letting fear win over love. Notice where time stands still and notice where time speeds up. If we want to do things that we love, stillness, nature, breath, presence, real connection, time slows down. So that's my download on string theory.
You have this passion inside to create these things, and it's so easy. You can do it alone, and it's much easier to do it together.
If today was to be my last day, what would I really do? I need to be honest, I need to be real, I need to be raw, I need to be vulnerable. So I think that's how men lead from the heart. For women, I think they're already there.
I have all the wisdom inside.
Exactly.
Welcome to I'm Creation podcast. And today, me, Rory, and Bo will take you on a journey to explore mission, vision, passion, and also how to lead from authenticity. And before we start, I would like to say thank you to Rory for supporting me on this journey. Behind the I Am Creation retreat, behind I Am Creation, is this man. And I want to acknowledge him for his support. And I'm so grateful to be led by you. And thank you so much for not being just a coach, but also a friend and a man that create this space for me so I can create all this creation.
Co-creation, right?
Co-creation,
Yeah.
yes. And can you introduce yourself a little bit?
What would you like me to introduce?
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, about your journey, and then we come to the questions.
So who I am, my journey, and the questions. So just everything.
Yeah? No, we will come back to the question later. For now, just who you are.
Who am I?
Yeah.
I am me.
Amazing.
That's as far as I've got. It's been a long journey to get to that place where I'm very happy in my own skin. There's a whole list of achievements and heroes' journeys back to back to back. But I guess the key things that people could relate to is that I grew up in Fremantle in Western Australia. Had a beautiful mother. She was a single mother that brought me up, and my dad wasn't present in my life. He had mental health challenges. Had me quite young. He was 27, mum was 44. So that was kind of like the origin of my life, where I learned a lot of things that are really powerful today, like unconditional love, compassion, empathy, and not learnt through the ways that you would expect it to be learnt. I learnt that at a young age, almost through experiences that a lot of people may or may not experience. So that was beautiful. That was an amazing foundation. And then I think the most pivotal moment was when Mum took me around the world when I was 13. And I don't know if you've ever, left the fishbowl of where you grew up and, been taken outside of that. But, I got to see the world at 13 with my own eyes. And I got to feel it. I got to see it. I got to, experience, Bali, where we are now. That was the first part of the journey. So it's, I'm not surprised I've come back here. The culture, the essence of Trihita Karana, and this interconnectedness and a culture of karma was something that always really stuck with me. And then after that, went to Thailand and sat in a little place out near Chiang Mai and saw a young girl dying of malaria and feeling so hopeless, like grabbing my mum's arm to be like, oh, we need to save this young woman. And that feeling of walking away, knowing that we couldn't do anything because we were miles away from anywhere. There was no hospital access. There was no anything. And just seeing the parents' faces, it's like it was like an impending kind of pain that was coming that we could do nothing about. So that sat with me. And then the contrast is like the next week I'm sitting on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. you know, and my young little mind is overhearing a woman talk about this amazing deal she got for her shoes, which was like €1,000. And I'm sitting there, and somewhere between Thailand and France, I learned that the malaria medication was about 6 cents. So my little head starts doing the math. And I'm like, I start associating that pair of shoes with lives. And I think that's where the next evolution of my journey really came. And yeah, that took me into studying sports science. I wanted to be a better athlete. I played football in the Australian football system. Got to a semi-professional level, and then my body broke down. So I became a physio, and then I went back and created screening programs for young athletes to prevent them from missing their opportunity. And that's still running to this day. It's probably impacted about 10,000 kids. And then doing what I loved, my passion, you know, the thing I thought it was everything, my job. I worked 100 hours a week just to fit as much in as I could. And then I got to the point where, you know, I was a senior physio at about 25. And then I had a scholarship for the AIS, which is working with Olympic athletes. And Bo's heard this story too many times. But that's like just before I was about to go to that next level is when I crashed. And I hit chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, all the signals, the gut issues, the heart palpitations, the high blood pressure. And I just remember like going for the next 2 years through this cycle of the healthcare system, and just, you know, trying to figure out like why my blood pressure was so high, why it was like 180/90, and you know, no one could figure it out. They're trying to give me medication and pills, and none of that seemed right. So that's where I think the journey of like not trusting the healthcare system, because even as a health professional, I lost my health. I was like, oh, that environment doesn't support health. That's ironic. Obviously, I take responsibility for my role within that, but that was a big part. And then I guess seeing health professionals, and I'm like the best of the best. The guy with all the degrees on the wall had a big belly, and he's trying to get me on blood pressure medication, but he's on blood pressure medication himself, and he's the leading cardiovascular doctor in the state. And I just remember that was at the end of this long journey of like chasing signals and symptoms, and not feeling any better, and spending a lot of money, a lot of resources. And I just lost trust. And then that was the catalyst for me to buy a one-way ticket. When I was about 26, 27, came to Bali, went surfing. In that time, found an opportunity that turned into a seven-figure business. And it came through my biggest trigger, a young girl who was 23, who was living her best life, and I was sitting in the clinic and she pissed me off. So I learned that my triggers are actually my biggest lessons. And I remember putting my pride and ego aside and saying, hey, what do you know that I don't? Getting curious. And then she tuned me into this opportunity that then gave me the time freedom, the resources, put me in networks, you know, like the self-help of Tony Robbins and Lisa Nichols, and learn how to facilitate, learn how to build a business without having the responsibility of all the back-end stuff. Learn how to build a community, learn how to impact people, learn how to duplicate, learn how to train the trainers, learn how to coach the coaches. And I didn't realize at the time, learn how to speak, learn how to, you know, speak in front of thousands of people, and everything else in between. So that then led me to, you know, 34, where I used that time to finish writing the self-care book. That took me 8 years. And then I kind of like, that was a big journey, but we can go into that in more detail. I've got that in other places, but that was passion and purpose. You know, like that was, like it didn't matter how many storms came into my life, like relationships, betrayals, parents getting sick, you know, pandemics, none of that mattered. I just, that was my true north. And it kept me going for 8 years until I finished it. And the beautiful thing about that creation is when it started, it was a calling, and I had no idea what the end result would be. I never knew that I'd write a book. I thought it'd be something else. But in the end, it was that, because it was curating that consciousness into something simple enough that I could explain to a 6-year-old. So in that journey was actually learning how to distill and create, you know, a new wellness kind of framework that reminded people that they didn't need to be fixed, and help them remember what they've always known to be true, like nature is medicine. You know, connection is medicine. It's nothing that a Rhodes Scholar needs to know. It's present, you know. So I wanted to create a resource that would remind people and help them remember what they've always known.
How we can explain to a 6 years old child about passion, mission, vision. Yeah, you prefer the special string. So yeah, I think I would love to hear the story about the string, and also like I would really like to hear about this mission, vision, and how we can lead authentically from the heart. I think this is like one of the most important topic, and you are so good in doing this and teaching this, and you are teaching me to do this, so I want you to share with the listeners also about this.
Yeah, okay. So this was actually, it was interesting, you know, like after spending 10 years doing something and doing workshops, I remember I actually came to your retreat experience, and you wanted me to do a workshop on self-care and vision and mission, and yeah, the night before I met a really beautiful man that gave me this, and you know, he was doing a ceremony, but he was intertwining, you know, Balinese culture and Arabic culture, and you know, all these different philosophies and South American culture into this one ceremony. And I just sat there and I was like, this is it. This is the message, is somebody being able to sit in their passion, their purpose, be able to dissolve the illusion of separation and promote this interconnectedness and celebration of all the cultures and all the people that have come to this point, and to be in service of some people that are here to have an impact as well. So when I did this little workshop, I kind of joked about this thing called the string theory. So the string theory is, so down here is like being born, and here is the end of our life, right? Now the string is kind of like, it's not complete here, because this is our quest as human beings to figure out where we came from. You know, the source, right? Yeah. So in the book, like I looked up, I basically researched 4,500 different religions, carbon dated how old the earth is. And it's like, what everyone can agree is we don't know. Like we've got these theories, but we don't really know. But what we do know is that we have a mum and a dad. So they connect with a moment of passion. Like my mum was 44, cougar. Dad was 27. They made love under a tree once. And then I was born, you know? And this was a beautiful thing, because when we were talking in the retreat experience the other day, I was like, what is the chance of you being born? And people were like, oh, you know, 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. It's a 1 in 4 trillion chance of being born. So like the way I frame that is like, you know, everything that happens along life, we have mums, we have dads, we have experiences, we have teachers. These experiences can be very fulfilling. We can get rejected. It can be like traumatic with a little t. We can experience trauma with a big T, and we create these stories, right, over our life, and then we kind of lose our essence along the way. But what was really cool is just reminding people that, you know, or the self-realization a lot of people had is that the day you were born, the day you took your first breath, you were already a living miracle. Like if my mum and dad didn't have that conversation, imagine one of them was too scared, I would not be here. So there's so many moments in life where creation is ready to happen to create moments like this and this little ripple effect that are being missed because of fear, because of insecurities, because of past experiences, or just the environment isn't facilitating it, right? And then the first 7 years, you know, we kind of like, we get taught how life is, what love is. We spend the rest of our life unlearning that for the most part, unless you've got good role models, right? But we're born out of love and creation. And then, you know, when we're kids, we I'd walk up and hug strangers. And then someone told me, you shouldn't hug strangers. And I'm like, I had to make a decision within myself. I'm like, but when I hug strangers, they hug me back. When I have that physical contact with people and treat them like humans, when I pat a dog, you know, it's like they warm to me. There's this intimate, there's this non-sexual connection. There's just connection. It's acknowledgement of another existence. It's also like the eye contact. It's a smile. It's saying hello to strangers. The basic things that somehow over life we got taught not to do. And I guess, like, you know, as an example, like when I was born, I got to like 27. I was like, you know what? Stuff this. I'm going to do it myself. Because I've been doing it myself my entire life. So I became like hyper independent, didn't trust the world, and this was the journey of ego and pride. And I almost forgot that it took a community to raise me as a child. I forgot that my mum was up at 2 a.m. changing my diapers, and somehow I was angry at her, and like mother wound and father wound. And this was a beautiful thing, because like, you want to heal the mother and father wound? Go back to the first moment that you were born and understand that that connection made you a 1 in 4 trillion chance of even being here. Because of them, you're a walking miracle. Living, breathing miracle. So whatever they did, or whoever they were, whatever they were dealing with, that was their journey. But what they did is they gave you love in the way that they knew how to love. And then the people that came into our life gave us role models. And we had that moment of isolation. We wanted to be hyper independent. We have these relationships where we intertwine for moments and then we separate, but we're always connected. Our essence is always shared. And it's funny with relationships, because we can have a million amazing moments and we have one moment that's challenging or triggers us, and then we're like, cut, I'm out. As if we forget all the amazing moments we had. True. But deep down it's because we're creating meaning and you're letting fear win over love. Because love would say, thank you for this connection, but our rivers are going different ways. And it's the acknowledgement that we're all just walking each other home anyway in the end, right? From the same source, the ocean, to the same source in the end. And we just get this opportunity to really live. Now the cool thing about this is what I write about in the book is, this concept of how long can we live and breathe? How many moments can we have? And at the moment, there's something called replicative senescence, which is like a fancy word for our genes replicated at a certain rate. So we can live to about 142. But majority of humanity lives to about 72 because of self-harm. We put things in our body, we live in environments that don't support us, so we get these uncontrolled cell growths, we get these cancers, the stresses, like our body's under stress all the time. We put ourselves in cages and sit behind computers for 8 hours a day and wonder why we don't feel good. And then we have to fly to these retreats in Bali just to remember our heart again and turn our phone off. And then we feel good, and then we go back to that environment and never change anything. So the point of these experiences is to come here to feel it, to remind, to remember, and then to go back into whatever environment, whatever season, whatever circumstance, and be that, which is the creation point. But I think the coolest thing is there becomes a point in your life where you'll realize that it took a community to raise you as a child. It takes a community to heal the sick, and it takes connection to live towards longevity. And that's the one thing that is common in every single blue zone culture, Sardinia in Italy, the oldest living men, Okinawa in Japan. They have these little tribes and groups that look after each other over the lifespan. They're not trying to do it alone. So connection is the ultimate medicine, And the cool thing that brings in all the quantum physics and all the other amazing stuff and passion and purpose. You want to know what passion and purpose is? On this timeline, there will be moments where time stands still. It doesn't exist. That's when you know that you found something that you're really passionate about. Someone playing music. I've been talking for 5 or 10 minutes. Time is completely dissolved. I'm sitting here with you in presence. So I know that I'm doing something. I'm here to do something that really lights me up. I don't have to sit here and do 400 pages of notes to get up there and talk about a piece of string, because it's within me. It's something that I'm really passionate about, right? So for whoever's listening, it's notice where time stands still and notice where time speeds up, because we can slow it down and we can speed it up at any moment. If we want to distract ourselves, chase false dopamine, run the rat race, speed it up. It's a race to the end. If we want to do things that we love, stillness, nature, breath, presence, real connection, time slows down. And then it seems infinite. And then we just have to live a life with no regrets. And then that way we can get to the end of our days knowing that with this once in a lifetime human experience was something that was worth living.
I love it. I love it.
So that's my download and string theory in the last 24 hours. I don't know if that lands, but yeah, give me some feedback.
For me, it lands for sure, because it's so deep. When you get
but so simple.
It's in reality we don't need our mind is trying to bring so many complexity, but like the life is so simple. When you listen to your heart, when you know about your mission, you have this passion inside to create these things, and it's so easy. You can do it alone, and it's much easier to do it together, to co-create. And this is like my big learning on the way, like on the path of my creation, of I'm Creation Retreat. This is the biggest lesson that I got. I can do so many things by myself, and
because you're awesome, but
because I'm awesome, but like now I have you, and the creation gives me the possibility to enjoy my creation, to stay present with myself, to be in my feminine essence.
Yes.
So the power of co-creation, it's huge. The power of connection that we create, it's huge.
Yes.
Yes. And
yeah, and it's also like somewhere along this life, like we were taught to see the different colors as being different, you know?
Yeah.
Like different geographies, different cultures, you know. This has all been conditioned through certain mediums, through culture, through families, through past conflicts, you know. We're seeing it in the world right now, you know, in different areas where it's like, oh, you're from this place, or you're this color, or you're this, or this is my pronoun, or this, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I love the fact that each string is its own unique, you know, essence and creation.
Yeah.
But the truth is like there's unity in our diversity, and we've always been connected. It's the illusion of separation that we have to dissolve. The humanity in all of us. And I know this is like probably getting a little bit, you know, deeper than talking about self-care, but the reason we look after ourselves is so that we can look after the people we care about. The reason why we seek abundance is so we can have the resources to look after the people in the communities we care about. If we go back to the essence and our heart of it, that's the reason why we do what we do. And we only know that that's really present in our lives when those things are taken away. And that's when we get angry. This is where we create these things, and we get the opportunity to choose compassion and love and forgiveness. And I've seen some crazy stories of like working in the hospital, and a young man was driving home drunk on one side of the road. So I'm working in a hospital setting, intensive care. He's driving home, he falls asleep, he merges across the other side of the road. He hits a car head on with a father and his 3 kids in there. So everyone in that car dies. The driver, the drunk driver, the young kid, he survives. So he wakes up weeks later knowing that he's taken the life of a man and 3 kids, and he's completely unaware of it because he made a decision to go get drunk and drive in a car and go home and then fall asleep. Maybe he had a busy work week, maybe he was dealing with a lot of stuff. But that one decision changed the lives of 4 others. Now, that can seem to be a very sad story, and it is. It's the truth of life that tomorrow isn't guaranteed for me too, which is the reason why I want to live so fully in this present moment, because it's not guaranteed. And I don't say that as a point of fear, as more of a point of excitement of like, you know, if today was to be my last day, what would I really do? Would I be courageous enough to have that conversation, create that thing, you know, ask that question, jump on that plane? And that drives me, the pain or the sadness behind that actually inspires me to live. But the point of this story is that the woman, the wife of the husband, for 2 weeks, she's lost her partner and her 3 creations, kids. And I'm just watching her go through the full grief process in an accelerated amount of time. And she'd walk into this young man's room, and like she's sitting there like shouting at him. He's in a incubated state, so he can't hear anything. But she's just so angry at this young man. And I watched this unfold over the weeks and the months. And she did something special where one day she realized, well, once the young man woke up and realized what he had done, he went into a big, you know, deep cycle of depression because he was hard, never had any intention to hurt anyone. And she did something special where over a period of time, she came in one day and she forgave him. And she invited him to dinner once a month. And I don't know how the story unfolded, but I knew that it not only healed her, but it healed him. and understanding that this is life and things like these happen, and this love and this forgiveness. Like, so whenever something happens in my life or someone does something towards me which is coming through me and for me, it's just a lesson. And I get to choose the vibration, the energy, the frequency in which I act, react, and respond. If it hurts, cool, feel that, move it. If it's painful, if it's sad, feel that, alchemize it. But then I come back to the point of all the things I've shared before to create perspective for these moments, so you can choose love and you can choose compassion, use that as fuel to then create the change or create the thing that you're looking to do here in the world. And that's where the passion comes from. The pain has always led me to purpose.
And how, knowing your purpose, you can lead from authenticity, from your heart. How to lead from the heart, especially for a man.
I feel like it's harder for a man in this day and age to lead from the heart, because there's old gender roles of that the man needs to be like, like ABC. He needs to be like disciplined and structured, and he needs to make the money and all that type of stuff. But now we have this rising feminine that needs to come into the world, which is also creating beyond just being a mother. And they're starting to really be the glue of communities, to be the ones with voices. And so I think the role as a male leading from the heart, which is like what I did when I called you in, right? I went on that plant medicine journey, and it showed me being surrounded by these 10 matriarchs, and the calling was to be that in the best way I could be, the divine masculine, the structure, the certainty, step 1, 2, 3, for your creations, for the feminine, knowing that the masculine had created 90% of the problems in the world, and the way that the world was going to heal was this rising feminine essence. Obviously not just male or female, within men too. So how to lead from the heart as a man, it means I need to be honest, I need to be real, I need to be raw, I need to be vulnerable, I need to own my mistakes, I need to admit where I stuffed up and ask for forgiveness. I need to apologize and forgive, even if I'm not the one throwing the punches. And all those things can be seen one of two ways. One is that's a weak man, because it doesn't fit the gender role of, you should be strong, you can't be vulnerable, you can't cry, etc., etc. But this is the thing, is where I want to be strong physically in a way that feels good to me, without having to spend 4 hours in the gym a day and doing steroids and getting tattoos. I want to be functionally fit so I can do whatever I need to do in any moment, which run, swim, surf, dive. That's strength for me on a physical sense. On a mental sense is my ability to take an idea, draw it on a piece of paper, and create that in reality. Done that with a book, done that with the retreat center, done that in supporting this with you as well. And then on an emotional sense is for me to be able to self-regulate, to be able to feel the full spectrum of emotions and not be scared, not think vulnerability is a weakness, vulnerability is a strength. To give unconditional love, but to also know that unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional tolerance, and set boundaries when you may be being disrespected or feeling disrespected. Then that is unconditional love with the boundaries energetically of unconditional tolerance, or not having unconditional tolerance. And I feel like that is where the masculine, like in Ubud, is very feminine, right? It is, and I've been there, and I've brought this part of myself out there too. But then it's like you need to leave that. Well, I needed to leave that space, and I needed to find the divine masculine as well, which is that certainty and that path and that direction, and to be able to nurture and protect and make myself and others feel safe, to bear fruit, to grow a garden that other people can also benefit from, and to co-create and do that with others, to support other people. So it's been this dance between letting go of this unhealthy masculine, unhealthy feminine, which I'd been taught in that kind of first 20 years of life, Australian culture, go drink beers, numb your problems, into now feeling it all, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, intuitively listening to the calling, and then creating from that space, supporting the feminine, which is actually going to create the change and heal the world, or be the solution, the one that brings people together in a world that's trying to separate, or it benefits from our separation, isolation. So yeah, okay, Bo. But yeah, so that's basically, yeah, that's how I think you lead from the heart. Is men need to tap into it, and they need to not be scared of their feelings. And women need to, like, when a man is vulnerable, see that as the strongest point of strength. It's not like emotional. What's that word? Emotional. What's it called? Emotional bombing or something, where you just put all your emotions out on someone else and expect them. Because for men, we hold it in because we don't feel that our partner or the people around us are strong enough to hold what we hold. So if we have a safe container where we can let that out, we don't necessarily need a solution. We've probably already figured it out. We probably already have the connections, but we just need to not feel it in here so we don't let it be suppressed and then get taken out on the people that we love most. So I feel like the men in my life, and myself included, I've learned to feel the full spectrum and learned to, emotions are just energy in motion. We've talked about this before. So I think that's how men lead from the heart. For women, I think they're already there. I think they need to learn how to have a voice and to understand their power without this hyper independence. Got to take my power back. No one ever took your power away. It's there, but you're just too scared to express it. And if you have the right people around you that co-create and support, then you get to sit in the essence of the thing that really makes you powerful, which is what you're doing here, shining the light in everyone else.
We have all the gifts, we have all the wisdom inside. The only thing, we just need to remember it and come back home.
Yes.
And remember it, and then just come and express it.
Exactly.
And own it.
Yeah, and we should flip this up, and I should be interviewing you. Yes. This is what I would love to see a lot more of, is men like me sitting there and asking you these questions, because my voice and this message is beautiful, but if it was coming from your essence, it would be received in a completely different way in this world. And I think that's what I would love to see more of. And that's from my heart what I'm calling on.
You are teaching me, I am creating, and I think the co-creation that we are doing can really show people different possibilities, how they can come back to themselves and really connect with themselves with their authentic expression and to lead in this world from the heart.
Yes.
And create this impact and ripple effect in the world. Okay, so I have the last question is, what steps can someone take to live a life filled with passion and purpose, and both personally and professionally? So where people should start?
Where it started for me was when my mum asked me what makes me happy. Yeah. So I feel like we need people around us asking us what makes you happy? What brings the most enjoyment and excitement and fun and play and adventure into your life? Because I feel like if we operate from that space, whatever that is connected to, it could be music, it could be dance, it could be introverted working on tech and building code, it doesn't matter. But if that's the thing that you're truly passionate about, like my brother used to love breaking things apart and then putting them back together. He's an amazing electrician now, and he builds these awesome systems. I used to be so curious about the human body and how it performed, and that led me into all the different realms of things that were passionate for me. I was curious about. No one ever had to ask me to study. No one had to be like, hey, you need to do this thing between this time, because it was always something that I was naturally curious about. So I feel like passion, purpose is follow the curiosity. Yeah.
I love it. I think this is the biggest step the person can do, and it can really bring people to explore themselves, what are their desires, what are their wishes, and at some point of the life they can really make this step of courage and do the things.
Just like you did. I see how much you light up seeing other people have the experiences that you've had. Alena comes running to me after someone has a breakthrough in a breathwork session, or they have this self-realization during one of the workshops with Matteo or Jamin, and it's she's more excited for their growth than they probably realize, right? But see, look, this lights you up.
Yeah,
it brings excitement and
create more and more.
And you want to create more and more. Yeah. Like the videographers, there's only a handful of people that travel around with 30 kilos of videography and photography equipment, and they know to like get up when the sun is rising, a certain thing. Like, I don't see the world that way, but I'm learning to see it through their lens. I'm learning to experience it through your lens. So your passion will excite me on mine. The key thing, this is so freaking huge, is that your vehicle is not my vehicle. Your vehicle is not my vehicle. I need to find what is uniquely present to me. Now, we might combine for a little bit and both have a common thing around retreats, except I already know my path and my mission, and you know yours. And we just co-create and support along the way because we've got a similar energy, vibe and frequency. And when our frequencies come together, it magnifies and multiplies. So we can have a bigger impact together, right? So this is the next step, is once you find your passion, your purpose, surround yourself with people on a similar mission, with similar passion, similar purpose. And that's where everything becomes positive sum. And that's where you can really make ripple effects of positive change in any area of life.
This is the co-creation, and this is the power of co-creation.
Yeah.
How we can really meet and go on this path together and support each other. And thank you so much for your support and being here and supporting me to co-create this amazing retreat, the podcast, and sharing your wisdom from your heart.
Thank you.